Welcome to Impact OC, the only program showcasing the people and organizations shaping Orange County. With your host, Don Camber.
Hello, live from the OC Talk Radio studios at UCI's Beal Applied Innovation Center. I'm OC Talk Radio Public Affairs Director Don Camber with another great guest impacting our community in a positive way. Today, I welcome American Foundation for Suicide Prevention Orange County Outreach Chair Benji Fucanan. The organization adheres to the mission of saving lives and bringing hope to those affected by suicide. Benji is also the outreach manager for the nonprofit The Goodness Center, treating addiction and mental health. Thank you, Benji, for being on Impact OC.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm stoked to be here. This is the real deal. It's like a real studio. I love it.
Benji, please define suicide and explain key terms such as died by suicide, lost survivors, and those with lived experience.
Okay, so define suicide. Well, it's really complex. So suicide is someone that takes their own life. That's the definition of suicide, right? And we don't say, back in the past, people would say, oh, he committed suicide. We don't say that. We say died by suicide. And there's a reason for that. Because when you say commit, it implies crime. And that reinforces the stigma that this is a selfish act. This is a personal choice to die by suicide. So we like to say died by suicide. Okay? And then you have, what were the other ones you said?
Lost survivors and those with lived experience.
So lost survivors, that's someone who loses a loved one that died by suicide. And then you have people with lived experiences. Those are people that experience suicidal thoughts. They've had suicidal thoughts. They have suicide attempts, or they have, had suicidal ideations.
And now I want you to share your story.
My story. Thanks for asking. So my story, for all you listeners out there, this is an important story because I was a normal kid. I had everything you could possibly want. Lived in a affluent neighborhood. I had, my parents were successful. I had everything I wanted. I partied. I went to a cool school. I was a jock. I hung out with everybody, right? I went to college graduate. I went to school for TV and film. I was in a frat. What you may think about frats, but dude, I was living the dream. I graduate from college. I didn't travel or anything. I got a job right at MTV. Worked at MTV. That was my first job out of college. And imagine a young person, just living the college life, first job at MTV. I was smoking weed with Snoop Dogg. I don't know if I could say this, I was snorting cocaine with, Pamela Anderson, right? I was living the dream. I was, I had everything I wanted. I progressed. I start working in casting. I'm casting 1 hour episodic shows for TV. We hire guest stars and co-stars. I also do casting for a modeling agency, LA Talent. So I was, imagine a young kid, I'm at the bars and these beautiful people want to buy me drinks, right? Because I could get them jobs. So I'm hanging out with models, I'm hanging out with celebrities, I'm doing all kinds of drugs, alcohol, I'm successful, right? And this whole time I'm finding, my value, who I am. It starts to morph into I become the alcohol and drugs. I'm not myself without the alcohol and drugs and the popularity and the fame. That's where I sought my value, right? And if you take that and you live that life, you lose who you are. I lost who I was a long time ago. I lost who I was back in high school when I started drinking and doing alcohol, because that became my identity. The fun guy, the party guy, the cool guy. You know, all the insecurities I had as a kid, being Asian American, growing up in a white community, all that fear was gone. You know, I hid it. I buried it away. I was bullied when I was a kid. I was bullied. But the alcohol and the drugs, it just made that all go away. But it never left the trauma never left, right? So you're living this life in Hollywood, this fake life, you know, seeking, you know, your fulfillment in life through fame and popularity. And that chase, you know, I had everything I wanted, but I was never happy. I hid behind my smiles. It appeared that I was happy. You could hang out with me and you go, oh man, that Benji's a cool guy, right? But I was dying inside because I was hiding from who I was as a kid. This Asian kid that got bullied. I was hiding from that kid. I just covered it up. I self-medicated with alcohol and drugs my whole life. You fast forward, you know, you start to, you know, you start to not be able to function. You start to lose jobs because you're not getting up in the morning. But the consequences are never severe because you self-medicate, and all that guilt and shame of losing a job, it goes away with the alcohol and drugs. It just goes away. It's going to be okay. I'll just find another job. And you're living that life. You're actually living that life. And it's a circle of insanity because you're losing a job, you know, you're dousing yourself with more alcohol and drugs. It becomes okay. You lose your house, you know, you douse yourself with alcohol and drugs. You'll find another house, and it's around that mountain. And it's around that mountain. And it just, you know, I got sick and tired of being sick and tired. I just sick and tired of living this double life and, you know, lying to people, you know, and pissing away all my money and ruining my relationships because all I cared about was that high. And when that high, you know, started to go and that I had nothing to, you know, self-medicate, I was trapped with my feelings and my chaos.
What got you off the drugs?
What got me off the drugs? I attempted suicide. I was sick and tired, being sick and tired, and I made an attempt for my life.
Are you willing to reveal how?
It's really graphic. You know, I was walking, you know, and again, there was no plan. It's the chaos and the convergence of everything that just happened at one time. And, you know, I found myself at a beach. I reached out to my brother, let him know that I was going to end my life. I hung up on him. I put a note on Facebook I'll tell exactly what I said. You know, I said, remember me for who I was, not who I became. And then I found a bottle and I broke it, and the rest was history. I cut my wrist, and you know that's really graphic to hear, but that's what I did. And all the doctors, you know.
How were you found?
It was a miracle. You know, I remember, you know, a lady that was standing over me, probably an angel, really, and she said she had called 911. But what's crazy is, you know, the whole time that led me to that point was no one loved me, no one cared, I'm unlovable, no one will care if I leave, right? How they found me was when I put that note on Facebook, all the people that apparently didn't love me and wouldn't care that I was gone, they organized search parties. And the first ambulance that found me was a friend I went to college with.
How soon were you found after you posted that?
It was not very soon. I was in bad shape when they did find me. I needed transfusions. I was declared dead at one point. So it took a lot to get me back, and it was a miracle. Everyone said I should have been dead.
What are some of the causes of suicide?
So there is not one cause of suicide. There's not one cause, right? It really, what it is it is there are stressors and there are health conditions that converge and lead to experience of hopelessness and despair. So depression is a factor, it is a factor that leads to suicide, but it's usually combined with other stressors like substance use disorder, with anxiety, stress, bipolar, schizophrenia. It's a convergence. It's not one factor, and it usually is never one factor like depression. It's a convergence of many situations, life experiences, prolonged stressors such as, divorce and trauma. There's a lot of factors.
Give us some suicide statistics.
So the most staggering statistic is from ages 5 to 17 in California is the number one cause of death is suicide. Remember, that's in California. So the third leading cause for death, 9 to 19, suicide. Second leading cause from death for 20 to 34, suicide. Fourth leading cause of death, ages 35 to 44. And 45,979 Americans died by suicide, making it the 12th leading cause of death.
Share with us some of the programs that the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention Orange County offers.
We have a lot of programs. The most important program that I feel is a program called Talk Saves Lives. And that's a free Zoom or in-person suicide prevention training program. And what that is, it teaches you about suicide prevention, right? And you could break it down into three categories. I like to label them as you know, notice, and talk. So know the risk factors. And the risk factors are, you have historical, you have health, and you have environmental risk factors. And let me break that down to you, okay? So your health factors could be depression, anxiety, bipolar, schizophrenia, right? Your environmental factors could be access to lethal means. It could be prolonged stressors, again, like divorce. It could be job loss, relationships, or it could be immediate, life experiences such as death or, traumatic experiences as a child. And then you have historical factors, which is, past experience with suicide in the family. And then, so those are the risk factors, right? And then you have the warning signs. The warning signs are, I exhibited all these warning signs, by the way. And since there was no suicide prevention, no one knew about it. No one knew I was in pain. And that's what's scary, because all we have to do is educate people on these warning signs, and then you can intervene yourself and see. So warning signs, again, I break it down into three categories. Warning signs are, it's how you talk, how you behave, and your mood. How you talk. If someone's always talking about killing themselves, if someone's talking about they have no friends, life is hopeless, if they're talking about um, they have no value, there is no hope. Those are people, that's, a warning signs of their talking. Their behavior, are they giving away all their items? Are they isolating? Are they not doing normal activities that make them happy? Those are behaviors. And then you have mood. Are they distant? Are they quiet? Are they anxious? Are they depressed? Are they, irritable, restless, and discontent? Now, those are the warning signs. And then the last part of suicide prevention is to be, how do you talk to these people that are suicidal? So if you're concerned about someone who is suicidal, you get them and you talk to them in private. And then you talk to them and you listen. You're empathetic, and you show no judgment. You let them know that you care. You ask directly about suicide. Are you suicidal? Again, with no judgment. And, you let them know that their life matter to you, right? What you don't say, there are don'ts. You don't try to debate with them the value of life. You don't minimize their feelings. You don't try to fix things, right? And then that leads me to, what if someone is suicidal? What if they say, yes, I'm in trouble? Well, first you stay with them, because, this is a life-threatening crisis. So you stay with them. You get rid of any means, lethal means, medications, firearms, right? And, what you do is, there's a line now. It's not 911. Have you heard of 988? So 988 is a mental health crisis line. So you could call 988, and the emergency personnel does not pick up that phone. What you get is a trained crisis intervention that answers the phone. They're going to talk to you, and they're going to, try to calm you down, find out what's going on. And if that crisis interventionist feels they cannot help, and then you're a threat to yourself or others, that's when emergency personnel will be involved. But the first contact is always a mental health professional.
I understand you could text that number, 988.
You could text that number as well. And I've used it multiple times, to help people in crisis. And there was even a person that was in Tennessee, and I Googled, is there 988 in Tennessee? And there sure was. We conferenced in, and he's alive today. So it's all over the nation. And, people would get fearful of 911, 911, thinking, that, the police would show up and then they'll take you to jail. But 988, you get a mental health professional.
What kinds of support is there for survivors of suicide loss?
Well, the American Foundation, for Suicide Prevention, we have what we call a program called it's a program. It'll come to me. It'll be a program, Healing Conversations, right? So what it is, it's not a support group. It's not a support group. What it is, we have trained volunteers with lived experience of survivor loss. And what happens is you get linked with our volunteer. It's a one-time thing. And then this volunteer could go over their experience. And it's about fellowship and letting them know how they got through it and sharing their resources and tools they used to get better. And that's what we offer at the foundation. And that is so helpful because you have therapists that help you with the clinical side, with depression, and help you deal with how you're feeling emotionally. But to have someone there that understands exactly what you're going through, that's been through that same situation themselves and got through it, there's nothing better than that, because you feel you're not alone. And that's the problem with loss. You feel you're alone. You have so much anger and resentment. You feel you're alone, But when you're going through it with someone who's made it through it, it's just so valuable. So it's the combination of therapy with a therapist, but also having to do fellowship with someone that went through the same thing you went through and made it through.
Looking back, how do you feel that you made it through? Because you could have succeeded.
Well, you know, I'm gonna. I really, I'm really careful, you know, when I say this on air. But honestly, it was a miracle, and I truly believed I was saved from my higher power, which I identify as God. Because it was a miracle. Everyone told me I shouldn't have made it. From there, I went into treatment. I didn't have a choice. That I went straight to the hospital. I was in the hospital for 2 weeks. But then, you know, through treatment, through believing in my higher power and fellowship, treatment being unwrapping what led me to that beach, what led me to want to try to take my life, childhood trauma, how I deal with stressors, you know, how I deal with my emotions. That's the clinical side. The fellowship side, being in treatment, you're dealing with people that are there that has gone through the same thing you've gone through, and then you get to listen and hear them process how they made it through, how they're struggling. It makes, again, when you're going through crisis, you feel like you're alone, and to grow together, it's just an amazing feeling. So I call it the combo platter of therapy, fellowship, and God.
How is your organization funded?
Which organization?
The American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, Orange County.
So it's a foundation founded in 1987, you know, run by volunteers. Everything we get for the foundation is through, we do fundraisers, like we do walks, we look for scholarships. It's all built on fundraising with the volunteers. That's how we get our funding for all the research, everything that's in front of you.
Are you in need of volunteers?
Absolutely.
And what can volunteers do to help you?
Volunteers, we're all boots in the ground, you know. So volunteers help, you know, we have booths throughout Orange County. I'm in high schools and colleges all the time having, you know, information booths. We have volunteers help staff the booths. We have volunteers that help make phone calls. We have volunteers that help us with our fundraising events, making phone calls, you know, staffing the events. We have a program called Duck Duck Hope, which we have little ducks with a paper attached to them.
Plastic ducks.
Plastic ducks, and it's our message of hope. So we leave these ducks, let's say at Starbucks, and someone will pick up the duck, and then they'll read it, and they'll go, oh, and there's a message on there, and it's a message of hope. And it says you're not alone, and it gives the number to 988 and other resources if you're struggling. So we make thousands of those. So we have volunteers make those and spread, you know, and spread them throughout Orange County.
So what message would you like to send to people contemplating suicide?
If I was going to tell them a message, I would want to let them know that they're not alone, and to talk to someone. And because, you know, life, you know, we are human, and things happen. No one's perfect. Everybody struggles. The problem is this guilt and shame that you're afraid to talk about. Talk to someone. Call me, you know, because you are loved, and you are special, and your life matters. And it does matter, and you would be missed. You will be missed. That's what I'd like to share.
I understand there's a film for colleges.
Yeah, so we developed a film for colleges, and what it is, it's a testimony, right? So we filmed a bunch of college students that are living their lives in college, battling their mental health, their depression, and making it through their, you know, stressful college experience. And it's just their walk of life in college, and they're very vulnerable with their struggles with mental health and suicidal thoughts. And that's a video we made for colleges, and it's accompanied by toolkits and guides. It's just not the video, but toolkits and guides, how to navigate, college with, mental health crisis.
And it's called It's Real,
Yeah.
College Students and Mental Health. How can they get access to that?
Through our website, the afsp.org.
Say that again.
AF, as in Frank, sp.org. You could just Google American Foundation for Suicide Prevention.
Thank you, American Foundation for Suicide Prevention Orange County Outreach Chair Benji Fucanan for being on Impact OC. And I thank everyone for tuning in. I'm OC Talk Radio Public Affairs Director Dawn Camber. Have an impactful day.
You've been listening to Impact OC, the only program showcasing the people and organizations shaping our community. Right here on Orange County's only community radio station, OC Talk Radio.